I understand the personality and the motivation that it takes for somebody to dedicate their lives to public safety, to public service. And when those people are willing to make that sacrifice, when they're willing to put themselves into that situation, something that we as a community all depend on, we need to support that.
Welcome back, viewers, watchers, listeners. I'm your host, Tyler Owen. I am back in Polk County with my right-hand man in the Golden Triangle. Field Representative Robby Campbell is sitting next to me. We are in Lee Hahn's office again, and had some issues in Polk County with a certain county judge, and that sparked some interest. And so me and Robby took it on the road, the podcast on the road a couple months ago actually, and spoke with one of our regional attorneys. And unbeknownst to us, it kind of highlighted some issues and some ways that Tmpa can be involved with somewhat local elections at the request of our local members. And so we're back here today, and man, it's always good seeing you.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
There's some life changes going on at Robby Campbell's house.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's always good to be up here in Livingston and Polk County. It's a great place. Could be a little bit better. Hopefully that'll happen. We'll see what the future holds, and we'll go from there. But yeah, a lot of life changes in the last podcast since we did Lee's up here. My grandson was born, Cooper.
There you go.
9 pounds, 1 ounce, and he's doing great. Mom and Dad are doing great. Me and Pops are doing great. I've officially took on a new name of Pops. So,
there you go.
Even had a shirt made. My darling had me a shirt made, so that's kind of cool.
Did you have that discussion with your son on how those things are made, and be careful how because they're fun to make, but they cost a lot to raise.
He's figuring that out now. Yeah.
All right.
Just don't let it soak as long.
Good old soaker. BYU University shout out right there. But yeah, man, it's always good seeing you. Things are always good with me, and Central Texas there in Wembley. But my wife was asking about you the other day and how the grandbaby's doing. It's just it's a life changing experience, I'm sure.
It's kind of cool. At first, it's like surreal. At first, like this is a kid that you're kind of responsible for, but you can spoil him and give him back.
Yeah,
which is always cool to do.
Does it kind of like does it make you feel old? Is it the first time that you wake, like you get drunk or you have a hangover and you get up out of the bed and you're like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore? Is it kind of like that moment where you feel old?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh
no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
no, not really feel old. Just feel proud to see that your kid, the kid that you and your wife made, grow up, get married, has a great career, what he does, and is able to start his own family. Is pretty. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I know he was married a couple of years ago over in Louisiana, and we were all celebrated that with you, and super proud for the Campbell family.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, man, give us kind of a rundown of the chain of events that have taken place. We've sparked some controversy, unbeknownst or not really intended to. Listen, Tmpa doesn't get involved with local politics too much because we're kind of maintained at the state level. However, when local members reach out to us and say, hey, there's some issues going on and this elected official is targeting law enforcement, we're going to step in. We're going to step in and just kind of point out the facts of, things that have worked and things that haven't worked and call them out on their BS when we need to. And that's kind of what happened with the situation in Polk County.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened. I mean, we got members at Polk County Sheriff's Office a lot, as well as Livingston PD and Onalaska PD and other surrounding counties and police departments that mostly Polk County reached out to me and said, hey, this is going to be an issue. We need some help with this. As much as we can get involved. And I think what we're doing is the right thing.
Yeah.
So since we last talked with Lee, the election happened, and it's in a runoff now between Larry Pfeil, who we have here, and Judge Murphy. We'll see how that washes out. Reached out to Larry and asked him if he'd like to come on the show. And this show reaches a lot of listeners.
It does.
So it's a good thing to have. A lot of folks listen to Lee Hahn's podcast, and it was very, very good. But to have him come on to give his stance on what he believes the right direction for Polk County should be going in, and what plans he has for Polk County would only benefit his platform and his stance in the election. And I reached out to Judge Murphy and sent an email to her office yesterday, and got a response back from the assistant to the commissioner's court that she was going to get the email to Judge Murphy. But I hadn't heard anything back as of yet.
Yeah, and we'll certainly allow her the opportunity to jump on here and kind of give her explanations of some of the decisions that we would consider bad during her tenure as county judge. But it's one of those things too that I'm happy to see the TMPA's involvement, because if we have these relationships with elected officials that are going to come into office and say, hey, this is important to us, it's important to the community for public safety aspect, and assist those elected officials in their their kind of their trajectory or their career path as an elected official and build those relationships up, then we can have these conversations that are difficult. Hey, you messed up on this, and this is, our members are upset, and this is the reason why from a law enforcement standpoint. And so I think it's important for us to be, involved to a certain extent. So that's why it's such an honor to be here today.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a good thing going forward. I hope this helps out Larry and his situation. And if Judge Murphy decides to come on, I wish the best for her as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, Larry, appreciate you stopping by, and I appreciate you coming on the Blue Grit podcast, man.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
For sure. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about what who you are, who the hell is Larry, where you grew up at, and then why you intended to run for county judge here in Polk County.
Well, my name is Larry Pfeil, spelled Pfeil for those that don't know already. I've grown up in Texas, born and raised in Texas. Grew up in a small town in South Texas called Refugio.
Exactly where it's at.
Not far from. Not many people. Not many people know. Yep. I spent the first 18 years of my life trying to get out of a small town and get to the big city where I could have all the excitement of the big city, and then spent the next 40 years of my life trying to get out of the big city and back into a small town. So moved to Houston in the early 1980s, was a paramedic with Fort Bend County EMS when I moved to Houston. Worked as a paramedic for a while, ended up, I was a paramedic for about 10 years. And
so you were a county employee during the Fort Bend
County, correct?
Okay. We're gonna touch on that here in a little bit.
Sure. After that, I began a life of serial entrepreneurship. Started starting small businesses and did that on my days off. Ended up start making more money in business than I did as a paramedic, and ended up making that my career. Put myself through college, went to University of Houston, have a Bachelor of Business Administration from
Cougars. There you go.
From
March
University of Houston. Started a business, technology business in the hologram industry, and that business took me all over the world. Through the 1990s, I traveled all around the world about 4 times a year, doing marketing as well as anti-counterfeiting and security technology. Because of the nature of the international business, our largest business expense was legal fees. And so I thought it would be a great idea if I could internalize that. If I knew what those lawyers knew, then I could pay myself that money that I was paying the lawyers. So put myself through law school, went to South Texas College of Law, and have a law degree, but never took the bar, never intended to take the bar, and never intended to practice law.
Gotcha.
Treated it more like a business self-defense course, if you will. After the 90s, I'm still in Houston. Ran a couple of actually 4 different businesses in Houston with a friend of mine, and ended up. Long story, but ended up losing my first wife, and when she passed away, I remarried, and my second wife and I started coming up to Livingston, started coming up to Polk County for weekends, and vacations.
Polk County itself, or Lake Livingston? Lake
Livingston, gotcha. Primarily. Okay. Yeah. So bought our first house here in, I believe it was probably 2012, 2013, and have been up here ever since. As soon as we came up here, my wife and I both joined Scenic Loop Volunteer Fire Department and ran primarily medical calls. My wife's a physician and I'm a former paramedic. So we run medical calls with the fire department and have kind of integrated ourselves into the West Livingston, West
Polk County.
County.
You said your wife's a doctor?
She's a physician. That's correct.
What a asset that is to have. It's a volunteer fire department, right?
Mm-hmm. We are one of the few fire departments that has a physician.
I imagine
and
so.
And a paramedic at that. Yeah. This practice for a while. So a physician, that's impressive. I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And do it for free. I mean, I'm not afraid of it. I mean, I'm sure it's less than what you'd be making full time as a physician.
Well, Absolutely, and it's something that we enjoy. We love giving back to the community. We love to participate in the community, and there's a lot of need, particularly in that area, and so we really feel like that we have a lot to contribute.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go back real quick to the Montgomery, to you working in Fort Bend County. Excuse me. You know, me and Robby have had many discussions and talked with members across the state. And sometimes majority of those members that we speak with in law enforcement are line level employees, members that, you know, are first line. They're, you know, 1, 2 year, 3 year cops that have just entered law enforcement. And you get this sense when you're 21 to 25 years old that you know how to run the roost. You know how things operate. And I think it's important to point this out because my understanding is I don't know Miss Murphy's background. But my understanding, she didn't work for the county prior to running for county judge. Is that correct?
I don't know. I don't know that.
But I think it's important to touch on this, is that you being a prior county employee at a very significantly larger county than Polk County, you understand the dynamics of how county operates and how county culture should work. Being probably familiar with the county, the commissioner's court, the county judge operates, and seeing how it's done professionally, and then looking at Polk County, is that kind of what drove your interest to at least say, you know what, I'm living in a county that I've embedded myself in, and you only embed yourself in communities that you truly, absolutely love. Okay. And I think that was there a point in time where you kind of sat there and looked around and said, something's just not right here. It's my opportunity to step in and try to make this place better.
Well, that's exactly right. I think what you're getting at, if I could maybe put words in your mouth, is that I understand the personality and the motivation that it takes for somebody to dedicate their lives to public safety, to public service. And when those people are willing to make that sacrifice, when they're willing to put themselves into that situation, something that we as a community all depend on, we need to support that. That needs to be a priority, and we need to stand behind those people, and we need to give them our full support.
And that's what kind of drove you to step into this role. Has there ever been a conversation? And I always like to ask, I like to ask candidates this: has there been a conversation between you and her, of the current county judge, of saying, listen, I don't like how things are running, and I'm gonna give you an opportunity to fix them, or I'm gonna step in? Or was it just kind of in passing, you just made the decision on your own?
No, I've had some conversations with the county judge, and I've worked with her off and on in various instances over the past 10 years, and I've always had a good working relationship with her. I get along with her fine. All of our interactions have been polite and professional, but I disagree. I disagree with her policies, and I disagree with her decisions. Let's
talk about some policies and decisions of the current judge in Polk County. What was your take on the situation with the county, the sheriff's department raises? You know, you look at the grand scheme of things in the budget and the Senate Bill 20 funding for 22,
Mm-hmm.
Senate Bill 22 funding. And one has to sit here and look at that. You being a very well-educated, individual that lives in Polk County, how did you take that as far as her not allowing the other raises, the countywide raises that were not given to the deputies because of Senate Bill 22 funding? How did you interpret that?
Well, I felt like it. I felt like it was a. I felt like it was a cop out. That
no pun intended. Yeah.
No pun halfway intended. Yeah. That money that should have gone to the sheriff's department then was diverted to other priorities, thinking that this state money was going to take its place. And I think that was the wrong decision.
Yeah. Would you have done something? How would you have handled that as the county judge? Let's say fast forward 2 years, you are the county judge, and how would you handle it differently?
Well, I think there's a fundamental answer to that, and the fundamental answer is that the county has to have funding priorities, and I believe that public safety has to be the top priority. It's the top responsibility for the county government, and it has to be a priority. We need to be funding law enforcement. We need to be funding our sheriff's department first, and then, with the money that's left over, then fund some of these other projects that I believe should be lower priorities. I believe that we have our priorities backwards.
Yeah.
So I would not have gotten us into that situation. The impact that underpaying our sheriff's department has had, we've had a tremendous talent drain from our sheriff's department, and we now have great people, great men and women in our sheriff's department, but with very little experience. There's a lack of experience that is going to have to be replaced, and we can either build it internally or we're going to have to hire it. But somehow we're going to have to get that experience level back into local law enforcement.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that about relationships. It seems like from the outside in is that the sheriff himself is doing everything he can to navigate around a challenging situation, challenging relationship, but he just continues to get rattled and beat down by the county judge. What would your perception, or at least what would your plan of action be to strengthen that relationship? Because right now the sheriff, at least seemingly, looks like the county judge is combative to having in that open relationship with the leader of the law enforcement community here in Polk County.
Well, and I've watched that. I've seen that taking place, and my perception of it is that the county judge who sets the budget, who provides the total budget for the sheriff's department, has kind of washed her hands of the responsibility and said, I've given the sheriff their budget, and the sheriff is responsible for how he spends it, as if he can create money out of thin air. His hands are tied.
Right. I was speaking with a resident there in Hayes County where I reside at last week, and he had kind of similar mindsets of what I would appear, or at least what I would think Judge Murphy's is that he was complaining about potholes. And the county judge there, Ruben Becerra, is not exactly pro law enforcement, but there was a significant raise that Hayes County got several years ago. And what his comparison was is that he would rather have his holes on his road fixed than have the sheriff's office receive adequate pay. And so we had this discussion about the relatability with Austin and then Hayes County, which is very similar to kind of where we are now with Polk County in relation to the city of Houston and the significant pay increase that the Houston officers deservingly got. But it puts Polk County in a situation where you've got to stay competitive. You have to stay competitive to retain the experience. We had this discussion with Lee last time, is that residents, I would like to see the number of people that have graduated from Polk County education programs and have gone on to DPS and gone on to Houston Police Department, because reality is they are such an asset to your local law enforcement because they grew up here. They know who the shitheads are. They know who does good things and who does bad things. But more importantly, they're members of this community. They are products of Polk County. And I think that's who county officials really need to target as far as coming back to work in law enforcement. My point is this, is that my explanation to that man was that nobody's going to move to Hayes County because they have beautiful roads. They're going to move to a community because it's safe to raise a family. And I think how you prioritize a county structure is public safety, number one. Number two is what that county can do to supplement or at least assist the education process, because in my opinion, that brings economy for people to come and move businesses to that community. And then third or fourth, give or take, would be the economy and or the road structure. What is your game plan for how to get Polk County back in a situation to where it's respected amongst other counties around here? Because I think, from my perspective, from living in Austin, the Austin area, is that she's done a significant bad job of bringing Polk County down because of her lack of game plan.
Well, and that's been pretty much my campaign platform, is that Polk County is suffering from a lack of vision,
Yep.
a lack of leadership, and a lack of a plan. And when I look at the resources that we have here as a county, having a tremendous lake, we have a fantastic lake that has largely been ignored, is underdeveloped. There's a lot of room to grow there. There's a lot of people that aren't even aware of Lake Livingston and all that it has to offer. Tremendous asset. We have the Alabama Coshada tribe that they have their current casino, and they're building a second casino just north of town. That that entity by itself is an economic engine that should be driving this county. Between the casino and the lake, I believe that the entire economy of Polk County is going to go through a transformation. I believe that it is going to become a hospitality-oriented economy, which means that we're going to be bringing in hotels, restaurants, entertainment centers. We're going to be bringing in businesses that are going to support both the casino as well as the lake. And I believe that that is where the funding comes from for all of the things that you talked about. So economic development, controlled, planned economic development, sensible economic development that preserves the culture that we have here, preserves the community that we have here, but it's going to take our involvement. So that economic development, in order for it to take place, we're going to have two things, and that is we're going to have a plan for public safety, and we're going to have the infrastructure to support it. So public safety has to be priority number one, and updating and upgrading the infrastructure has to be priority number two.
Yeah, you could go two ways with this thing, and Polk County's in that situation. They're kind of at the crossroads right now where you do have that casino. They're going to build a much larger casino, which is going to cause other businesses to come in, like you talked about, hotels coming up, and then you have the lake. You're either going to have to accommodate those changes, those economic benefits, or you're going to have to or be forced to do that.
Yeah.
Or be forced to accommodate. And if you're forced to accommodate what's coming, you're going to be behind the ball, and you're always going to be behind the ball. With public safety, with infrastructure, let's start building these things out now.
Proactive instead of reactive.
Absolutely.
And that's what I've been trying to champion since the day I started this race.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is the relationship between the Polk County Commissioner's Court and or County Judge seat with the economic development here in Polk County?
So I don't really know how much has been put towards economic development. I've tried. I'm very good at reading spreadsheets. I'm very good at that sort of stuff. I have looked at the county budget, and I will tell you, I have a very hard time making heads or tails of the county budget. But
is there a slotted allocation to the
economic development? There is, and the last time I looked, the total budget for economic development was $350
from the county.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Now it has not been that way historically, and it may be that's going to change over time. But the budget item that I saw I believe the 2025 budget was $350.
Wow. Why do you think it's that low?
Lack of vision. I mean,
lack of priorities. At the priorities being out of whack. Other projects are taking higher priority.
Let's talk about this for a minute. So you have a county judge that's been there for quite some time that has a lot of ties, family history ties to Polk County, owns a lot of personal property in Polk County, which is commonly referred to as old money, which is the old Mayberry thing. Maybe these people that are sitting in commissioner's court and sitting in the county judge's seat currently like the old feel and none of them seem to have a vision. I mean, they're all elected independently for commissioner's court. So it would take one or two to come. We need to get things going in the right direction. I don't even know these folks that sit on commissioner's court, so I'm not taking shots at them. But the leader, the county judge, is the spearhead of this thing to get things going. That's just the bottom line. And like I said a while ago, you're either going to be forced to accommodate and you're going to be playing catch up forever, or you're going to have to accommodate now, start building out infrastructure, and start funding public safety. That's just where we're at right now. And I think this is a turning point, and I think that's coming for Polk County. Look at Montgomery County and Conroe and those places like that. They used to be old Mayberry towns, but they had visionaries in the right places that it's grown to what it is today, and it's going to continue to grow. I mean, if they got a Jimmy Buffett Margaritaville and a man-made Doug Small Lake over there that's selling out every weekend, and world-class golf courses over there. Polk County could do that exactly here. And I know the distance is not that far away, but why not? Don't be forced to do that. Accommodate that and welcome these businesses in to do that. I mean, you already have it. You already have no one's going to take the lake from you. It's going to be here forever. It's going to be here. But the property around the lake is beneficial to folks. It's an economic drive. The casino out there on the reservation is an economic drive. You're right. It's a big engine, and take advantage of that. Work with the tribal council, get things in place, and build forward. Build your infrastructure in. A beautiful courthouse is always nice to look at, but when you're $10 million over budget or whatever the number is, and it's been sitting idle in like a building that ran out of funding for repair, there's issues there. There's issues all over that. But just me, I did a salary survey. Let's talk about this for a minute, Tyler. I did a salary survey for Polk County. They asked me to, just to see what they were at, and they know they're at the bottom of the barrel on this thing, and I knew it too because of the pay, and they're having a problem with recruiting and retention. And there's a lot of departments across the state, police and sheriff's offices, that have an issue with recruiting and retention. Some handle it better than others, but it goes back to funding. So I included in the salary survey Montgomery County, Hardin County, Walker County, the surrounding counties of Polk County. Outside of Montgomery, there's, I think, what's the county in between Polk and Montgomery?
Leon?
No, Polk and
There's Liberty.
San Jacinto?
San Jacinto is on the other side of the lake. Yeah.
So these counties here, then I included PDs inside Livingston, Diboll, on Alaska, and Huntsville, which I'm still waiting on Huntsville's numbers to come in for some reason. They're dragging their feet. So if they're listening, Huntsville PD, please send me that stuff. You have it in an open records request. I need it to complete this, but that's the only numbers I don't have. So Polk County is the target line on this. Starting pay, they're down 16.5% starting pay.
Wow.
Their starting pay is $49,406 to start, to do probably one of the most dangerous jobs you could possibly take on, to make life-threatening decisions at the blink of an eye and be armchair quarterback to death on it, where you could be prosecuted, sued, completely ruined as a person.
How many deputies are working on Polk County at one time? Do we know? 3, 4?
2 to 3 on patrol.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
At one time.
And it's a big county.
It's a huge county.
And top out pay is $68,000. However, to get the top out pay, it's longer than the 20 plus steps in the plan. According to our members at Polk County, no one has made top pay as a patrol deputy or just a deputy. So that's an issue. No one's making $68,000 there. I take that back. Unless they're making a lot of overtime, and they have to be making overtime.
Yeah.
Because that's how you supplement. That's how you get your rank. You got to get people to work overtime to cover.
And unfortunately, they do have a lot of vacancies. So there's a lot of them are getting a lot of.
They do. In the jail between Montgomery, Hardin, and Walker County, the jail is 6% below starting pay and 12% below top jailer pay. That's without having any rank at all. So that's kind of where they're sitting at, and which is alarming. They should be right below Montgomery County, in my opinion, around here. They have that potential to do that. This is a big issue, and it's a big red flag. They don't have collective bargaining. They don't have a meet confer. So it's going to be up to a county judge who's been here for quite some time, who's not funded the sheriff's office correctly to do this, and commissioner's court to get along with her. So in my opinion, it is time for change, for somebody else to come in, or the current county judge to wake up and say, hey, we got to fund these police officers. We have to incentivize the sheriff's office to get these ranks filled. However they want to do that. If they want to call me, I have great ideas. I do it across the area, incentivizing to get people in and stay and retain them. There's ideas to do that as well. But pay, it drives the engine on this thing, is where it's at, where cops do. That's why you're losing cops to Livingston PD. I'm sure most of the officers that work at Livingston PD started out at Polk County.
Yeah.
People leave to go to other places.
At the jail or whatever.
And this is departments in their market, which in their market is you can pick up and either go to Polk County to go to work, or you can drive a little ways longer and go to Montgomery County to go to work.
Yeah.
That's the market they're in, and that's what you're having to compete with. And I'm not saying right off the bat compete with Montgomery County, but eventually you could get up there with what Montgomery County's doing.
Well, but if they don't take that step, they'll continue to kick that can down the road.
Yeah, so the ask only becomes larger.
That's right.
Next year, we need more than this. We need more than this. And this is no blame of the sheriff. Sheriff Lyons is a great sheriff. The chief deputy he's a great guy. Their command staff over there are on point. They're fighting this fight. But every time they go to commissioner's court for budget workshops or budget requests, it falls on deaf ears. We don't have the money to do it. Yet you're getting to a grant where you fund the public defender's office $1 million, which that's going to fall back on the shoulders of the county in a few years. And then you want to redo this courthouse, but you're way over budget on it. And some things that happen in the contract work on that hiring the contractor and getting tools for them and a place to live and cell phones. You're a businessman. You've done this before. You know that's not right.
No.
And you know, if we dig deep into it, which we have to a certain extent, there's some conflicts in there.
Oh yeah.
There's some huge conflicts in that. And I hate to say this, but it's not going to be completed within the next month. So if you do pull this off, Larry, and you do win, you're going to be saddled with getting this thing up and going. I mean, you're going to have to take this thing over, and God bless you on that. And good luck to you. If you need us, call us. We'll do what we can, but that's going to be a task in its own.
Yep.
But I think your priorities are in line and in order with the right thing, and your heart's in the right place. You're a giving person, what you do as a volunteer. And I think you have the right business mindset to get things going in the right direction with all the businesses you've started in the past. And you're a very successful person and a very well-educated person. That's the new change that Polk County needs, in my opinion. And that's my opinion, not necessarily the opinion of Tmpa.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I do want to hit on this. Me living in East Texas, I lived in near Marshall. I lived in Jefferson for about 20 years. And I always, when I would speak to people in Central Texas, and this has kind of become the norm in rural counties and really Austin because of the lack of law enforcement, the lack of law enforcement presence, and the recruiting problem that they've got, thanks to an idiotic district attorney they got in there, Jose Garza, is that the norm now is that if you need law enforcement assistance, if it's not a priority, absolute priority call, you are waiting an hour and a half to 2 hours for an officer to get there. I want you to put that mindset on of the resiliency of East Texas residents. They would lose their mind if a deputy did not show up within 2 hours of a burglary in progress call or a call that was of significant emergency. They would absolutely lose their mind if a deputy did not respond to that. And these deputies, let's talk about that real quick. These guys are investigators, patrolmen. They wear so many different EMTs. They wear so many different hats because it's so big and so rural.
They've grabbed hoses and helped us fight fires.
Exactly.
I mean,
they firemen or they're game wardens, which is, it's honestly, it's the most underrated. It's also the funnest, in my opinion. Being a county deputy, you can still kind of be police in a sense because the use of force is there because you don't have backup around the corner. But my point is this, is if Polk County does not take a step in the right direction, they are going to be in the normalcy of what I'm seeing where I live at, of the 2 hour response times for a priority call that I would consider a burglary in progress. That is a priority call. That's not a priority call in Austin. You have to be somebody that legitimately has to be assaulted. Yes. And so that's where we're headed. And I want to make that very clear to the Polk County residents. If there is no decisions that are made right now in your mindset, get it through your head that public safety has to take a priority seat because you're losing officers at a rate that you cannot be sustainable.
And you can't backfill them.
No.
You can't hire them. And there's deputies right now listening, and they're paying attention to the election, and they may make that decision based off who wins. And if it's status quo, you're going to lose more. And you can't fill your ranks in the corrections department.
Yeah.
You're sending prisoners to Louisiana. That blows my mind that you're sending prisoners to Louisiana when you got a great facility out there. You just don't have enough corrections officers to handle the inmates coming in.
Yeah. And it doesn't take that much to get that up and fully operational.
Right.
With about $500,000 investment, we can get that whole thing up and operational. We can cut about $1.5 million a year in expenditures that we spend on shipping inmates out of the county, and we would have excess capacity. We could actually turn the tables and turn that into a revenue source that of almost another $1.5 million. There's about a $3 million swing just by making that investment.
Well, and Judge Murphy made an interesting comment several commissioner courts ago. So she put the blame back on the sheriff that this was his idea. Okay, touche. But the reason it was his idea, he was forced to do something because of her inability to lead the county into funding a salary increase to get the correctional officers he needed. So yeah, you can throw the rocks towards the sheriff and say, well, this was your idea. Yes, it was. But he was forced to do something because of your inability to make a decision and go forth and conquer on the salary aspect to get these officers hired. Is that an accurate statement?
What she also did is when the debate come out about these sheriff's officers' pay being underpaid, understaffed, which goes hand in hand, she put that back on the sheriff.
Right. He asked for this money. Yeah, he's the one that proposed.
Well, he gives the money out where he feels it's fit over there. But you didn't give him enough.
I think it's important to point that out.
He had to make a post on social media to defend his own position because she was throwing that on his back. And that's not Sheriff Lyons it is Sheriff Lyons to pay his deputies, but if he don't get the money from Commissioner's Court and the county judge, he don't have it to pay him.
Yeah, but it's important to point this out. How often does Commissioner's Court meet?
Monthly.
Once a month. Mm-hmm. Okay. If people are naive enough to think that conversations don't take place one-on-one before those meetings to understand, for example, how that went down, and I haven't talked to the sheriff. I don't even know the sheriff's name. All I know is Judge Murphy. I know Robby takes care of the sheriff, and he speaks to them regularly. But I guarantee you how this went down is the sheriff spoke to each commissioner trying to lobby to get this pay raise done, and he realized very soon after speaking to 2 or 3 of the majority and or the county judge, he realized this isn't going to pass. They meet once a month. And so in order to get that passed during the budget time frame that it happened, and I'm telling you this from experience as a guy that was a captain at the sheriff's office, and I'm the one that handled a lot of the budget aspects for him, that's how it all went down. And so for her to sit there and blame the sheriff that he's the one that presented this in a false pretense and the false way that what she did, it's insulting.
It is insulting.
Yeah.
To try to get that off her back and put it on that's the wrong thing to do. You've been the decision maker for, 10 years. So she's been the county judge for a long time here.
Yeah.
Things look the same, except for the courthouse. That's still a shit show. But the sheriff's office has been losing deputies. But don't put that on somebody else when it's your responsibility to fund that.
Yep, I agree.
The budget workshops are about to start very soon. If you win, Larry, then they're going to be dealing with this budget this year, which is going to be off of Judge Murphy's her time in the seat. It's going to be her budget set out. So this is not going to be an immediate fix.
Right.
Now, you can make amendments to that budget to maybe try to fund the sheriff's office if you do win. And I'm not saying do that or what your position is on it, but that that you can do things like that. The Commissioner's Court, of course, has to vote on it to do it. But they're going to have to do something. Mm-hmm. They're going to not put this on somebody else like this is their problem. The sheriff can pay what he wants to pay these folks. Not really. What are you going to give them, monopoly money or a couple of extra days off with pay? You can't have an effective sheriff's office when you don't have the manpower to work it like it should.
Well, and you mentioned something a second ago about retention. We're at a point now where retention isn't even the biggest issue. It is that we need to recruit. We need to bring those deputies that we have lost, the talent that we have lost over the last several years, and we need to bring them back. And so that means we don't just need to be competitive. We need to have an attractive pay, because if we start today with competitive pay, then it's going to take 10 years to rebuild that sheriff's department.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you start out trying to get in the ballpark, you're still behind the game.
We're behind. Yeah. We now have put ourselves in a position where we have to pay more than other departments, because we've got to bring that talent back into the county. So we've put ourselves in a really bad situation here.
Yeah.
And with imagine the traffic, the people that are going to be brought into this area with that new casino. Imagine the amount of traffic coming back into this county. We are not prepared for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see how she responds and if she's willing to come on the podcast. Again, Tmpa has not given you an endorsement, and you recognize that. We've talked about that before, but we are simply highlighting the facts involved in this election and our hopes and promises. Not any promises, our hopes that a county judge will come in that is very pro law enforcement, very pro public safety, and that gets their priorities. So again, Judge Murphy, if you're listening and you do happen to win, all we can ask the Tmpa is that you realign or readjust your visions. But it seemingly right now seems that Larry's got the vision in order that kind of aligns with what our members want and what this community needs. So, is there anything else you want to go over, Larry?
I think we've covered it all.
Yeah, it's been a good podcast. It's certainly nice meeting you.
Well, it's great meeting both of you.
And I wish you the very best of luck on this election. And we'll have to wait till when is the early when's the election?
The election is May 26th, and the early voting will be the week before, 5 days.
So it's a little bit different than the last election. It's 1 week before May 26th. So it's just 1 week of early voting.
That's right.
And then the final day, the 26th,
which is the day after Memorial Day. So everybody plan accordingly. If you're going to be out of town, early vote.
From an EMT standpoint, I think he's saying hydrate plenty over the weekend. Hydrate plenty over the weekend. Yeah. So anyway, good meeting you, man. I appreciate it. Hey, for those that don't know, our Texas FOP Tmpa conference is coming up July 24th to the 26th. Me and Robby talked before this podcast kicked off. I guess I've not done a good job on pushing the hand bid registration out. We use and I talked about this yesterday in another podcast, is that we utilize a website-based format that allows members that attend our conference the ability to participate in the auction, which is so crucial to the Tmpa mission for Tmpa charities. It's our only charitable fundraising event is held at our conference. And so we opted to do that 2 years ago, and we're going to maintain that this year. Key difference, Texas FOP members, if you are listening, if you are only wanting to attend the conference itself, the bylaws require that you attend at no cost. So if you want to show up and just simply attend the conference and not participate in any hospitality night, any networking, you can do that. Go on hand bid. There is a Tmpa day pass. Complete that. You'll get the day pass for those Texas FOP members that want to participate and hang out with some Tmpa folks and network a little bit. We certainly would be proud to have you. That's what this event's about. The event is spectacular. This will be your fourth conference, if I'm not mistaken, or fifth.
Fourth conference as an employee. I think
fifth attending. Yep.
Yeah.
I've first one was in San Antonio.
Yeah, I attended, but I attended several before then. But yeah, it was a long time ago. But so there's back to the auction. There's a lot of good auction items in that thing. Like there a lot of good stuff. So it's a pretty good time. This is going to be a joint conference, like Tyler said. Expect a lot of people because we usually bring in, what do you think, 500 to 600?
I think last year we had 630.
And that was just the Tmpa conference alone.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. That was it. I also got told today, I think it's the National African American Law Enforcement Association is going to be there the same weekend. So Hyatt Regency, I hope you're listening because y'all service wasn't the best 2 years ago. You better be prepared and you better stock up on plenty of fluids. I think y'all ran out the first night 2 years ago. You better be prepared because it sounds like you're going to have a lot of police in there.
Yeah, Hyatt Regency in Dallas.
Yeah, Hyatt Regency Dallas. Yeah, the ball. But man, anything else you want to go over?
No, man, I think we're good. We covered it. Larry, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. Good luck with the runoff. I hope it goes like you planned it to go. Yeah, that's it. How about the three questions?
Have you been studying? You got 3 rapid fire questions.
This is every guest is asked these questions, and it's just some fun facts at the end of the show. It's pretty cool.
What is your favorite line from a cop movie or your favorite cop movie?
Wow. Favorite cop movie. So I don't really watch movies, but I have a friend that is the first assistant director of the Will Trent TV series. And so I'd have to say, if you haven't seen Will Trent, you ought to see Will Trent.
I'll check that out.
Great show. That's my
Will Trent. That's got to be the first Will Trent.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Nobody's ever said that before. You're definitely a first. What's your favorite patrol car?
My favorite patrol car. Oh my gosh. So I go back. I go back into the 80s. Holy crap!
There's the Caprice.
No,
Ford Crown Victoria.
Crown Vic.
Crown Vic.
Oh,
Crown Vic guy.
Larry, just by saying that, if I was a
voter in Polk County, I'd vote for you just for that. Yeah, for sure.
It is the Crown Vic.
You can't break it. That's right. The War Wagon. You cannot beat that machine. But what's your favorite drink of choice when Larry's relaxing with his wife there at Lake Livingston, hanging out here in Polk County?
So I don't really drink, but if I were going to drink, I would say probably a nice scotch.
There you go.
Oh, I like scotch.
That's also kind of a few. Not many people choose scotch on the Blue Grid. I think this is the third one.
A little Glenlivet 12 or Caribbean Reserve is good.
12, 15.
Yeah, I got them in my liquor cabinet at home. They're good go-tos.
I've done a lot of business in Scotland, so I've had a chance to travel around Scotland and taste all of them.
As long as it's not Angel's Envy.
No.
As long as it's not Angel's
Envy. It's so wore out.
Yeah.
I think it's overrated. Gosh, come on.
Oh Oh, man. Well, hey, you guys take care. Again, Larry, greatly appreciate you coming on. Thanks to Lee Hahn for hosting this event here at the, or allowing us the opportunity to come to podcast. We had to be in town anyway for some discussion on a legal case that Lee is handling. So you guys, if you need anything, this is a great example of when members reach out to their field rep and explain some complicated situations that we typically wouldn't get involved in, but once they explain them, we're here, right? Similar situation happened in Hearst that we've dealt with 2 weeks ago, dealing with a Lee married attorney. So anyway, you guys take care. Get out and vote if you reside in Polk County. We're not endorsing Larry, but we're certainly going to tell you, get out and vote and go ahead and cast your vote and be heard. So you guys take care. Stay safe. God bless you. And as always, may God bless Texas. We're out.